The TVA and the CCC were great successes for Tennessee's economy and for the preservation of its diverse environment. These programs that sprouted from President Roosevelt's new plan ideas helped heal Tennessee's economy after the devastation that was the Great Depression. These programs were able to provide and help restore faith in jobs, agriculture, stability, and finances for years to come. After the stock market crash of 1929, it caused a domino effect through the country, and many people began losing faith within our governmental system. Confederate states in particular would follow this practice. After they had been advocating for state rights since the Civil War, the increased friction during this time did not help their feelings towards our government. People began losing their farms in Tennessee due to not being able to pay back loans to the bank. Factory goods were no longer selling, so therefore worker layoffs had to be made. In Memphis, 1/3 of people in factories lost their jobs due to the aforementioned sale decline. People were taught during this period that hard work meant a good life. Herbert Hoover represented this ideal for many. But now, with the Depression and with him currently being president, many began questioning our government and Herbert Hoover's capabilities of being able to be president within our country. A bartering system would soon be implemented within our society because of how severe and poor people's finances were. Many blamed Hoover for this economy, and shantytowns were created, which were where many homeless would gather. They were also called Hoovervilles. Newspapers also became known as Hoover blankets. More than 100 banks within Tennessee would fail as the Depression worsened. They no longer could afford their loans, and many would withdraw their money from the banks as they saw how bad the economy had become. This caused many banks to fail, unfortunately, and also many foreclosures on several farms within Tennessee. March 4th, 1933, Franklin Roosevelt was sworn into office. During his first 3 months, he sent out large numbers of bills to Congress to try to provide relief from the crisis that was the Depression. This was known as the 100 Days. Roosevelt knew he had to help restore faith within the banking systems in the United States, so he declared what he called a banking holiday. During this holiday of a couple days, banks closed. The strongest ones who could remain open would remain in society. With these New Deal programs that Roosevelt had created, many parts of the economy began to see benefits. The AAA, Agricultural Adjustment Act, paid farmers to reduce the amount of acres that they owned. This would cause inflation in their crops, thus giving them more profit. The CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, provided jobs for young men by hiring them to work in parks and forests. They helped bring improvements to the parks as well as provide more job opportunities with their programs such as Public Works Administration, the PWA, and the Works Progress Administration, the WPA. Both of these programs helped build roads and other public works within society. In May of 1933, an act passed for the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Association. The Tennessee Valley Association's mission was to restore the agriculture within Tennessee by creating dams to help crops, implement electricity into more areas, and help increase profit in itself. Some residents within the valley took issue with the TVA because of the loud and invasive measures they had to take. As quoted in our supplementary source video, Tennessee Valley, "Let the government man do things with machines over the mountains. None of our business." The TVA dam builders consisted of 200,000 men, all from many backgrounds: farmers, miners, city workers, all who had suffered from the Depression the same. Many farmers were mesmerized by the construction of the dam, but even the most open-minded did not understand what this meant for them. John Morden, representative of the TVA, held small meetings all over the valley to help educate farmers on what the big plan was. Dams will only help part of the problem. If everyone was to succeed, they must work together. To stop erosion of their land, the TVA was to help supply all they needed to try different methods of farming. The TVA also needed volunteers to try out certain methods of different farming variations. Through the cooperation with the TVA and implementing different experiments and types of ways to fertilize and farm new soil, farmers began seeing huge improvements. This not only helped farms financially, but also helped restore faith within Tennesseans for their own government again. Thanks to the New Deal program, the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, we have had the pleasure of having many beautiful and diverse parks and forests within our state. One of these parks, and most notably made by the CCC, is the Cumberland Mountain Park. Due to the Cumberland Settlement Program, those who had moved desired more entertainment from the area. To build a park, the CCC stepped up to this plate. Building started in May 25th of 1935. Workers were given cabins to sleep, eat, and for entertainment. The building of the dam in this park was the largest project the CCC had ever faced. In memorial of the CCC, the Pickett CCC Memorial State Park was created. In 1933, Stearns Coal and Lumber donated 12,000 acres to be used as recreational areas. The CCC would use this to build the park. The CCC constructs a 12-acre lake, hiking trails, 5 rustic cabins, and more. A park was even made from one of the CCC's programs, the WPA, Works Progress Administration. That park was Fall Creek Falls. This park had its start in 1935, and its first felicities were implemented by the WPA. The park was turned over to the Tennessee Department of Conservation in 1944 and finished around the 60s. For this project, I chose to visit Fall Creek Falls since it was closest to my area. Here are some pictures of my visitation to the park while I was there. These programs were such a success in Tennessee that the Secretary of Labor in Washington wrote to current Tennessee Governor Browning about it. In August of 1937, Frank W. Persons would send a letter to Governor Browning of Tennessee asking to continue with the CCC due to the tremendous growth it has caused for the state. Persons says to Browning in this letter that he should feel gratified of achieving 38,136 men in the CCC program, and goes on to praise the growth it's caused financially, physically, and socially for Tennessee. The CCC to Persons is a vital significance to Tennessee and mentions to Browning that he would be glad to talk about the situation of the CCC at any moment. I unfortunately could not find a response letter to Persons from Browning, but I believe that even the act of sending a letter to another government official about how well its programs are doing says everything about the program in itself. Despite the devastation the Depression caused, through President Roosevelt, Tennessee was able to prevail. The impact that the Tennessee Valley Association and the Civilian Conservation Corps is not only seen today through our current agriculture, but also through the beautiful state of our natural parks. New Deal programs made by President Roosevelt helped our economy at its lowest by increasing employment, finances, and trust within our government once again. These effects have only rippled into our current day where we can visibly see/visit till this day. Our current agriculture probably wouldn't be nearly as successful today if it weren't for the TVA, and without the CCC, we wouldn't be able to visit as many parks and forests if it wasn't for their dedication and hard work they put out after being beaten down by the Depression. Overall, Tennessee has everything to be thankful for the TVA and the CCC. For many generations, and hopefully even more after that, we will continue to appreciate and praise the work that both of these programs have done.